help her, Mr.
I let you.
Hey, get in here. Dallas is about to start.
Welcome to the Ewing Barbecue, where tonight we have a very special episode where we're talking to the one and only Morgan Brittany, our very own Katherine Wentworth. Yes. My name is Mary.
I'm Sarah.
I am Josh.
And I'm Melanie.
And I'm Morgan over here.
Yes.
One of three Morgans to appear on Dallas. The other's Fairchild and Woodward.
That's right. The only one we're missing was Freeman. Morgan Freeman.
I would like him to narrate my life.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? I know, really.
Yeah. But should we just do a quick little bit of housekeeping?
Yeah, we'll make that quick and then,
All right, yeah. Birthday on March 25th, Brenda Strong. Quickly over the weekend, Mary and I were just down at 90s Con with Armory Cats.
So jealous.
And we met a few of the fans, and I actually wanted to send a special shout out to one of the fans, Doe, short for Dorothy. She actually brought me a condolence card and had never met me before.
That was sweet.
Really
yeah,
nice.
because my sister passed on March 10th, and everyone's been wonderful so far, especially all you Dallas folks. Got greetings from Lee McCluskey and Kathy Podwell and Audrey Landers.
That's so
and
nice.
everybody.
That's so nice.
Yeah. And it's just a tough thing.
Yes.
Obviously, when you lose somebody. And so thank you to everybody for that. That's really all I have.
No more birthdays.
Is that all
I don't think there's
the
any more birthdays this past week, is there?
Okay.
No, there was just some guy named Patrick Duffy who was the marshal of the parade over there in Dublin on his birthday, St. Patrick's Day.
Wow.
Swoon, Patrick Duffy.
Kind of epic.
Yes. So, Mary, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, do you want me to play the little clip?
Sure.
Okay, so I put together a little, it's like 2.5 long minute, montage of Katherine.
Oh, boy. Wait.
Wonderful.
Guys, I just have to say, Katherine Wentworth is my favorite Dallas villain of all time. Love her. I think she's amazing.
Well, thank you. She was a little crazy and then finally went off the rails. So
Yeah.
That's what we always talk about. Is the crazy eyes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, I was beginning to wonder about myself, by the time I left.
And it's funny because there was a comparison side-by-side picture. I don't know if Mary has that she can throw up, but you share a birthday with Walt Disney. And
Yes, I do.
People compared Katherine and her crazy eyes to the Wicked Queen in Snow White.
Funny story. I'll have to tell you guys. Don't forget to ask me about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that has a tie-in with everything I did on Dallas. Yeah.
Oh.
Really?
Well, that's great, Cliff. I'm really happy for you. And you too, Mama. It's so terrific that you found each other after all this time. You have such a lovely way with words. Cliff, what do you want? Oh, isn't that adorable? Cliff Barnes asking me for a loan. Oh, you vicious little man. You killed her. You weren't content to embezzle money from my father's company, or to drag the whole family into this endless losing battle with the Ewings. Oh, no, you had to drag Mother into that one, too. Bobby, you know I'd do anything for you. Bobby, don't you realize I'm in love with you? I've been in love with you from the first time I ever saw you. I just never said anything because you were married to my sister.
I played the tape for Bobby of you and me in bed. It's all over, Katherine. He'll never marry you.
I'll kill you, JR!
What makes you think it would matter to me one way or the other that you went to bed with JR, except for the fact that he's already married?
Because I knew it would take away any chance I had of being with you.
Katherine, you have never had a chance with me like that. I've tried to tell you that time and time again. I have never felt that way about you. I never will.
But I could make you love me if it wasn't for JR.
No. Katherine, I don't know you at all, do I?
Bobby, I love you.
No. Well, maybe you do, Katherine. Maybe you do. But it's a sick kind of love. A I'm going to marry Jenna Wade.
No. You can't! Not that slut with a child from that awful Italian! I won't let that happen!
I've been an outcast. Yes, I have. Hiding. Always afraid somebody'd recognize me and turn me into the police. Well, that's all over now. The tables have turned. It's my turn. I'm going to have everything that was yours. So sleep on, little sister. Sleep on.
Bravo! I love it. I love it.
Nice.
You're like, you little man.
Oh my gosh.
I love it. I love it. I just
Oh
can't
my
even.
gosh! When you were
I honestly have not seen those clips since the show's aired.
Really?
I have not
Wow.
seen those since. That's
Wow.
so funny. Wow, she did
Yeah.
go off the rails. Mhm. Oh yeah.
At what point did you know that's the direction they were going with Catherine? Did you know your arc when you came on, or were you just
No. They honestly, I was only hired to do 6 episodes, and they just wanted to introduce a sister, but they didn't know what to do with her. They didn't know what direction. What are we going to do? I don't know what we're going to do. Maybe we can do something with Cliff. And so there was no real. There was no real character development there. It was just kind of, as you could see, I kind of put a spin on it because that's kind of the way I acted in my audition, which is another long
That's what I
story.
would've done.
How I even got
Oh, I want to hear about the audition.
the way I got the part was because I was, well, uncharacteristically impatient and rude that day. So
Well, there you go.
it's a long story, but I thought, okay, I blew that one really high, sky high. I will never get that part. Funny thing, there was something about what I did that they found a little spark there. But once the first 6 episodes that I did was done, I figured, well, I don't know, I'm just going to go on and try to do movies and other TV stuff. And then they called me back because the audience reaction was, what is she going to do? Is she going to come back? She went away, but is she going to come back? And so they decided to write me in as a regular, which was nice.
I read this, and correct me if I'm wrong somewhere, that when you were deciding if you were going to take the part, because you really wanted to do more like films and stuff, and did like you and your husband talk about it, and you're like, okay, it's better to be on like a good long term. So that's right. Okay. And then aren't you glad you did it? I mean,
yeah, I'll tell you, in the 80s, I started the show in 81. And in the 80s, I was then offered a lot of films, or being up for at least a lot of films. But I had a real problem with doing nudity and doing gratuitous sex and doing that kind of stuff. I just never was that kind of an actress. And so I hesitated, and I told my agency, I said, I just can't do this stuff. I can't. And they kept telling me, well, then you're never going to work. And then when Dallas came along, it was like, well, okay, maybe this is where I should be. You know, maybe this is where I belong, because they're not going to ask me to do anything, anything crazy. And, it's a hit show. I mean, what's not to like about it? So, yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, it was a tough time in the business because, back then women were pretty much told what to
we
do.
had this discussion on this podcast. No offense, Josh, but we had this discussion. It's that era where you're coming out of the barefoot and pregnant, but you're coming into the women being their own, but the men want to, no offense again, they want to say like, you can't do that. The hell I can't,
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, it's
well, it was you know what? Back then, too, it was all about the plastic surgery and the boob jobs and all of that. I mean, everybody did that. It got to the point where I think even one of the actresses, I don't know whether it was Heather Locklear, they told her she wouldn't get a job unless she had surgery. I mean, that's literally how bad.
And she was beautiful too. And that's what's so awful.
She was beautiful.
And she ended up doing T.J. Hooker and Dynasty at the same time.
Yeah, there you go. And so, you know, you think about it, think about how things were then. Women were seen in a whole different light than they are today. So,
and some of the writers,
it was different. And
some of the writers were old school.
Safe on TV.
I don't blame you at all. That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
Now, was this your first dramatic role per se? Because I know you did a lot of.
No, I did a lot. I did a lot of dramatic.
You did Vivian Lee, didn't you? Was that?
Yeah.
You really do have a very strong resemblance too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well,
as God is my witness.
Flattering. I was different because of the fact that I moved to New York. After my childhood career was over, I worked from the time I was 5 till the time I was 16. And Yours, Mine, and Ours was the last thing that I did before my childhood career was over. That's when I moved to New York City at 18, and I changed my name, and I threw out my resume, and I became a whole different person. And I decided that New York was the place I could go to be a model, but I ended up doing a lot of commercials. Mm-hmm. And then I was offered, I kind of left the Hollywood career to simmer because I wasn't getting anything as an actress because I looked too glamorous, too perfect, you know what I'm saying? And in the 70s, that just wasn't going. I was going up against Sissy Spacek, and I'd walk in the door and they're like, no, not going to work. This is not going to work. So it was very hard for me. And I went where I knew that I could work, which was in advertising. After that, I went to Japan for 2.5 years, made a lot of money in Japan as a spokesmodel for a Japanese company, and came back to the U.S. in the late 70s. Immediately, everything had changed while I was gone. Charlie's Angels was on the air. Glamour was back. Everybody wanted the look, the sex appeal, that kind of image. So I got jobs because there was an open call for Day of the Locust, John Schlesinger's movie, and they were looking for lookalike movie stars of the 1940s and 30s. And so I happened to go over to Paramount as Vivian Lee.
That's my dream come true.
John Schlesinger.
I know, right?
I know. And so John Schlesinger went, perfect. Absolutely. And he was doing this big riot scene at the end of Day of the Locust, like this huge, just extravagant scene. And all I had to do was get out of a car with Laurence Olivier, and that was it. No lines, no nothing. But that started the Vivian Lee thing. And then from there, Sydney Fury hired me as her in Babel and Lombard. So I played Scarlett in that. And then when David Wolper was doing the miniseries of Moviola, they said, well, who can do this? We've really got to have somebody that looks as much like her as possible. And somebody brought up my name and showed them photos, and I got that part. But that was the one. That was the one thing, because my agents tried to talk me out of doing that. They tried to say, it's a nothing role. You've done Movies of the Week. You've starred in Initiation of Sarah on ABC. You don't want to go do something where you come in at the end of the movie and you have 2 lines. You don't want to do that.
Thanks.
And I said, yes, I do.
Yeah.
I said, yes. And they said, well, there's no money in it. I said, I don't care if there's no money in it. It doesn't matter. I do not turn this down. I want to do it. And I said, the only thing I ask is not about the money. I said, the only thing I want you to do is I want you to get me a separate card at the end, at the credits in the beginning, and Morgan Brittany as Vivian Lee.
Smart.
And introducing.
Hear the woman roar.
Exactly.
That put a face, a name to the face, right? Because people had seen me on commercials, they'd seen me in movies of the week, didn't quite know who I was yet. That did it. Then on top of that, CBS decided they were going to put my picture on every regional TV guide across the country. My picture on the cover.
Nice.
For the week that it aired. Bingo. That was it. Because when Dallas came up a little bit later,
on CBS.
Well,
that's right. They remembered. So
That's neat.
It's funny how things work in this business, but I knew that this mini series was going to be it for me.
You had that
it.
like sixth sense.
And even though it was small, it was what everybody was waiting for. That last scene when when Vivian shows up at the to meet David. So I knew it. But I think what that is that's because I've been in the business for so long before. I just had instincts about what worked and what I needed to do. And I was really fortunate to be able to do it.
Right. You did The Birds. You were in Gypsy with Natalie Wood and Ron Howard's girlfriend. And was it Andy Griffith or Mayberry?
I didn't know what they wanted at all.
No, it was Andy Griffith's show. Yeah.
No clue.
So you said you changed your name from
I love your real name.
Capito.
Yeah.
Suzanne Capito.
Capito.
That's what that was. Capito. Hey.
Where did you pick Morgan Brittany from? How did you?
It's funny because I was really into Southern Gothic romance novels, and so I'd go to this old used bookstore in LA called Dutton's Books, and I found this for like 25 cents. This novel, Frank Yerby, and it was called Flood Tide, and I picked it up, and I was on my way to New York, and so I picked it up, and I was going to read it. And when I got on the airplane to go to New York, I opened the book, and the very first paragraph said Morgan Brittany was the owner of the plantation, blah, 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 in this. And I went, wow, what a great name. That's awesome. Because I was playing with keeping Suzanne and just getting rid of Capito and changing it to a simpler name, but nothing seemed to work. And then when I saw Morgan Brittany, I went, that's it, man. That's it. And I got off the airplane. It
just fell right into place.
I think everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, fell right.
You getting that book, you doing the Vivian Lee thing, and everything happens for a reason.
You're so right about that.
I've got to be honest. Yeah. For a long time, I did not make the connection between like you and Yours, Mine, and Ours that I had watched when I was younger until I heard that very clip that Mary played where you were screaming at Cliff Barnes, and I was like, Louise Beardsley, and Googled, sure enough, I was like, it sounds just like her. And this was years ago, and I was like, oh my God, she changed her name. That's all it is. It's the same lady.
I did. And do you know, I went through New York and trying to get agents and trying to get work without using one single credit from my past. I went in as a newbie, like I've never done anything before. I never had a different name. I never had a different life. I never did. And
did anybody recognize you?
No.
Wow.
Because I looked so completely different. I looked so completely different than I did as a kid.
Wow.
And back then there was no video. There was no. Once you saw the show, that was about it.
I love it. Yeah.
But it wasn't until Dallas really that people started. In fact, TV Guide did a whole interview inside that says A Star Is Born Again, and they did the whole thing about my past.
Right, totally.
And
amazing.
You don't know who she really was. She was the little girl on the Twilight Zone. She was on Rawhide with Clint Eastwood. She did Gunsmoke and Gypsy and the Birds. It's like all these people. Oh my gosh, tell us about it.
Do you happen to remember what year that TV Guide was? Like the they have the month or the week or whatever. Do you happen to remember which one? I collect TV guides, as you can see.
I'll tell you, the Pope was on the cover, so I know. I can't remember the year.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Was on the cover.
I just collect those.
Yeah. Oh, did you? Yeah.
Were you encouraged to audition for Dallas, or did they come notice you and contact you?
I was with William Morris Agency, and so I basically. Just my agent called me one day and said, "Hey, listen, there's an audition. They're looking for a sister for Pam Ewing on Dallas." And I kind of went, Dallas. Wait, I think I know. I don't think I've ever seen the show. And they said, well, it's kind of a soap opera, nighttime soap opera thing. And Larry Hagman's in it. And I said, oh, okay, I think I know. I really didn't follow a lot of the stuff because I had just gotten married. And so my mind was not really into doing a lot of work. And we bought a new house and it was like, okay. So they sent me on the audition out to MGM and it was a cattle call. It was literally, that's why I had an attitude because I'm at MGM Studios.
It worked in your favor. So, you know.
I'm looking around the room and there are girls that are 16 and there are girls that are 35 to 40. And I'm just like, okay, this is no.
They had no idea, obviously. They just were like, come.
No I think what it was is that when you walk in the door, they see it. And I think that day when I just didn't have time for them, and that's exactly what it was.
It's almost like
you also have a striking resemblance to Priscilla Pointer.
Yeah,
be her daughter.
And that helped. That helped. Yeah. But two pages of dialogue. And then they asked me, Lenny Katzman asked me to do it again. And I said, you know what? I really don't have the time for this.
You. He's like, that's the one.
Out and he was like, that's Catherine. Yep. Right there.
Seriously, Ed, there were only pay phones back then. We didn't have cell phones. So I went to a pay phone and I called my agent and I said, oh, guys, I'm so sorry. You're probably going to get a phone call that I'm rude. I was so rude. And I remember my agent, he goes, it's all right. Don't worry about it. They're seeing everybody in town. And I went, okay.
Were they trying to go for someone who is quote unquote unknown, lesser known, or over a bigger name?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So you don't know anyone else that was up for the role, right?
Yeah, I do. They were looking at Delta Burke, and they were looking at oh gosh, what's her name? She was on a series at the time, and I can't remember. She had long brown hair, but I cannot remember her name. Good actress, and a lot of people, but I know Delta Burke was in the running.
I never knew that.
Quite. Yeah.
Well, she didn't give them attitude, so she didn't get the role.
She didn't give them attitude, and she could have been booked for something else. I don't know, but it was just so bizarre. And I thought, sometimes just the weirdest things happen where, can you imagine though? I mean, when I walked out of there, I thought there were at least 8 people in there. There were network execs. There was Lenny, producer. There was casting. Everybody, it was like 8 people in there. There was no videotape. So you had to go in person. And I'm sitting in the middle of the room. And to get up and leave. I mean, their jaws must just drop. Like,
what just happened?
Does she not know what show this is?
I don't have time for this.
That's badass, though.
Seriously.
Did you?
I gotta
did
go.
You, did you bat some crazy eyes too at the?
They're like, that's the one.
Maybe I did. Or they could have thought, wow, that was a really smart actress thing to do. Which I didn't even plan it. Maybe they thought, whoa, that was really good, you know?
It's like JR. He wants what he can't have. So maybe they wanted you because you were like, oh, no, I don't have time for this. It's like, oh, no, we want you then.
What a man thing to do, though. Chase you when you're not interested.
No.
Yeah.
We like to pick on Josh. It's 3 against 1.
Full offense, Josh. Yeah, full offense.
Hey, that's fine.
Well, but those were fun days, and I look back on it. And you want to know what a really weird story is? Kind of going off the subject, but how we do live in the Matrix. Seriously, we do. We live in the Matrix. There's no question. I remember that Lenny Katzman told me one day on set, he said, hey, we've built Katherine Wentworth an apartment. Do you want to go see it? It's, it's down the road here a little bit on the MGM lot. And I went, yeah, cool. That'll be great. I'd love to see where she lives. And so we're walking down the alleyway. I think we were at stage 18, the big stage, and we're walking down. And we're getting closer and closer and closer. I knew MGM because I grew up on that lot. So I'm seeing him angle off into the alley and going to stage 6. All right. He starts walking up the ramp to stage 6, and I stopped. And I said, is it on this sound stage? And he goes, yeah, come on inside. I walked inside. I had done the Twilight Zone on that stage. In 1957, 1964, and I walked in there and went, okay, this is weird.
Yeah.
Here I am. And
did you tell him this too?
I did. I told Lenny, I said, this is, I mean, I don't know. It is the weirdest feeling. And they had built my apartment there, and I remember the staircase was over there. The room was over there. It was just crazy. Crazy. Yeah. It was like walking. It was like, had I known that, just think about it. You're a kid. You have no idea 20 years from now you're going to walk back on that same stage in a whole
That is the Twilight Zone.
Roll different.
Where? Just the strangest thing ever. But oh well, that happens to me. What can I say?
What did you draw on to play Katherine? I know you started to. We talked about Walt Disney and the
Evil Queen. Yeah.
So what I did is I don't know whether you guys know All About Eve, the movie with Betty Davis, and and Eve Harrington was the villain in that movie. I took that character. I stole that character right out of the movie.
I can see that.
I combined Eve Harrington with the Evil Queen, did the makeup like the Evil Queen, had my makeup artist on Dallas. I said, we're going to recreate Katherine as the Evil Queen. And she went, oh, cool. That'll be great. So we did the black eyes and the whole thing. But that combination of the Evil Queen and Eve Harrington from All About Eve was what I did. And I've always done that as an actress. I've always taken bits and pieces from other performances and made them into my own. And that's what's worked for me. I never had an acting class. So I kind of grew up in the business just taking from different people. If you take from the best, right?
So you've never taken an acting class or anything? Like when you're... That's great.
And there the two of you are right next to each other. Side-by-side comparison.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly, and Sue Cabral, who did my makeup and did Linda Gray's makeup. Sue created that for me, and we made it. We made it work.
I love it.
Can you believe how much hair I had?
You still have beautiful hair, though. I hope I still have my hair.
Yeah.
It's awful right now, but.
Well, I have like half of what I had then.
Well, that was the 80s, though.
Yeah, it was the 80s. It was.
I know everybody has questions. I have 3 questions, but they're all separate. So, like, different topics. So I'm just going to ask you one and then let whoever else go. This, because I'm just curious. So I was reading this thing, you know, how they have all your, like, personal quotes and this and that. But I did read somewhere that you split your time between Southern California and Atlanta, Georgia. Is that right? Or you used to? So,
That's right.
I think I don't know. What is in Atlanta for you? Because it's very close to me. I would just, like, I like to know, you know. But why do you split your time?
The reason, well, originally, I mean, my family's from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Atlanta.
Okay.
But I don't have any family left. So my husband does a lot of movies. They do Marvel movies down there. They did Fast and Furious, and he's a stunt coordinator and second unit director. And so we ended up spending more time down there that we finally just got a place and said, we may as well. I mean, this is great. Plus, it feels like home to me.
I love Atlanta.
And California, California is just so nuts. I mean, really, I mean, this is the lunatic asylum over here. I can't even explain it.
I had this conversation with Omri Katz. He said if it wasn't for his business, he would not stay in California. It just doesn't.
A lot of people say that. I mean, I've never lived there. I've been there, but I've never lived there.
It's expensive too. Like in my job, we charge more money to ship things to and from California. So just because it's so much money.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, here we pay such high taxes for everything, yet we get nothing for it. We have bad roads, we have homeless issues, we have everything. I mean, there's just nothing. You just kind of look out and go, well, this is a beautiful state. I mean, I was born here. I grew up here.
The ocean,
a beautiful place
the mountain,
to live.
the valleys, and everything is beautiful. But
you have to step over trash and needles to get to the beach. I mean, what is this? It's just nuts.
I know. I was in MacArthur Park back in November when I was out there for Elton John's last concert, and the homeless situation in MacArthur Park alone was just frightening.
It's really sad.
It was like.
Yeah, it is.
People were tweaked out on their phone, yelling things, and oh god, it was just.
Yeah, I know.
So it's like New York City, but warmer.
Yeah,
exactly.
Actually, you guys, it was a year ago today. I was screamed at on the subway. So I was initiated apparently by some of my friends that live there. They're like, "Oh, you're a New Yorker now." Like somebody just randomly looked right through me and it was like,
come to Birmingham. I live in a suburb, but downtown Birmingham is like downtown Atlanta. We were all in Atlanta. Well, not you, Josh. Sorry. What was it, like a month ago? All 3 of us girls. We were in Atlanta.
Month and a half, yeah.
And but it's Birmingham is a little weird. It's homeless problems and all of that too. And you know, I guess that's kind of everywhere, but it's sad.
I was cussed at while I was actually texting Omri Katz. I was cussed at. Get away from me with your bleeping phone and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, okay, all right, whatever. I'm going. I'm out of here.
Well,
very frightening.
I don't know what to say. It's just, I don't know.
Now, at what point did you notice that Catherine was going down the rabbit hole of cray cray?
I think it was probably. I mean, I saw a big turning point in the season where there was an episode called The Letter, and she had Pam sign divorce papers. She just had her sign them, and then she took those and showed them to Bobby. And then there was the letter that she had written, and then she showed it to him, and it was all about how she wanted a divorce. I think that was showing that Catherine really was reaching over to the edge at that point, because
that is a little
willing to do anything.
Yeah.
Before that, it was like, okay, I'll try and see if I can do this on my own and win him over. But then when that didn't happen, she just started every dirty trick in the book. And the stuff I used to love was so great. I loved working with Priscilla Presley because it was so great to be mean to her, We used to just laugh during the scenes because it was like, oh God. She just wanted to slap me upside the head, But the other guy, I remember the guy who came in as her ex-husband, Ronaldo.
Daniel Pilon?
Huh?
Was it Daniel Pilon or who played Ronaldo?
I don't remember. I
think it was.
All I remember is that when we did our first scenes together, he was just gobsmacked. He's going, "God, you really scared me."
That's when you know you're good.
I loved his accent. Jen, Charlotte.
Oh, I know. I think I scared
Hey, you're
the
talking
guy.
to Capito here. You're talking to Capito.
Hey,
It was pretty funny.
Speaking of slaps, did Victoria really slap you in
that scene?
Yeah, she
goes, yes.
She clocked my nose.
Shock value.
And when I go back on the bed and I fall down and I do this, it's like, oh crap! What did she do?
Took one for the team.
She didn't mean to do it. She didn't mean to do it. She didn't mean to do it. But it was. It was really. It took me by surprise because I was not expecting. Funny.
Who was your favorite cast member to work with?
Probably Larry.
Okay. A lot of people say that, but everybody has their own kind of little,
I think it was because we had such a good time together.
Yeah.
And we all of our scenes were just it was just oozing of who could be worse, and we absolutely love it. And I got and he was so funny too. You get into rehearsals and you think, oh, this is going to be serious. We're going to block and we're going to do things and we're going to get everything. Oh no,
you're like, no, not today.
Yeah. Something
we've seen the bloopers.
Over here, and then I'm going to sit down over here. I go, well, what are you going to say? What's your lines? Oh yeah, it's fine. And I'm like, okay.
He had a habit of improvising a lot, didn't he?
He ad-libbed a lot. Did everybody do that or just him?
He did. Kenny Kercheval.
I love him.
Kenny Kercheval was great because he was a stage actor.
Right.
And so he had been, mainly married to dialogue for all those years, but he was so spontaneous in a lot of the scenes that we did together. And sometimes I would just wait for him to stop talking so that I could say my line because I didn't know when he was going to stop talking. And it did make it more real.
I think so too. It would throw me off, but if I'm trying to learn my lines, I'd be like, wait a second, that's not right. But then I think it makes it look more, like you said, more real, spontaneous.
It does. I forget who it was. I think I heard that Vince Vaughn is like that. He's very, off the wall.
I can see
and
that.
Improvs. And he worked with Reese Witherspoon and it drove her nuts because she's by the book, every word. And it was like, I can't do this. And I know what that's like because if that throws you off and you're used to doing everything by the book, it's tough.
Yeah, I'm very OCD.
I heard a story recently of Danny Pintaro, who played Jonathan Bauer on Who's the Boss. the Judith Light's son.
Sure.
When he was auditioning for the role, apparently, Tony Danza was going off script, and he stopped and he said, "Can you read the lines as they're written? Because I can't do this." And that is what got him the role.
Well,
Oh my God.
he was really young then too, right? I think he was like 5. When
Very
they started.
precocious, yeah.
No, I gotta say,
cute.
I'm going back to high school now, but in drama class, improv was probably the hardest.
I
thing.
love it, but
I loved it, but it was like I really can't think of stuff on the fly like this. It's rare.
Did
It's
you
hard.
improvise any of your lines at all, or ad lib, or go off a little bit? No.
I stayed pretty much to the script because
And you brought those crazy eyes.
Well, what I can do, the only great thing about being a villain and being a bad guy, being a crazy person, is that you really can have a lot of liberty with what you can do.
that's my everyday life.
Because nobody's going to tell you. Nobody's going to tell you, "Oh, she wouldn't act that way." Because
It must be. It's probably more fun to play the villain than it is the straight laced.
Totally more fun.
Oh yeah,
Totally. That's Victoria. She said that to me. She goes, "Oh, I'm so tired of being the nice guy. I like to be mean once in a while."
Just like Patrick said.
Well, I think that she was always the nice girl, and then Linda Gray got very tired of being the drunk. You want to get out of that role. You want to have more storylines. You want to have, you know what I mean? I can see how that would be frustrating. But you're in this hit show, and
it is.
Are you going to complain?
No,
but
you're
out of the villain. For sure.
I know. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Yep.
No, we've brought up Priscilla Pointer, and she and I think William Smithers are two of the oldest living cast members still alive.
Mm-hmm.
What
I know.
Talk about
I think
Priscilla.
it's amazing.
We never hear stories about Priscilla on set.
No, Priscilla was, which was so wonderful for me because I had been in the business for a long time and I really got to work with some amazing, amazing older actresses and people. And the minute I met her and we worked our first day in Texas, they flew me to Texas for the very first scenes. And my first scene was with her. And she was so elegant and soft-spoken and classy. And it was like walking back into my past where I had worked with actors and actresses that, you just kind of go, oh, wow. Like Rosalind Russell, for instance, where you just are in awe of their professionalism, their absolute, their love of their craft. There's no temperament. There's no, nothing unpredictable. And Priscilla was she was always there. She was always on time, but she was funny. Sometimes she'd forget her lines or something and we just all crack up and laugh. And it was great. She was so different, She was kind of like, I guess, I didn't really work that much with Barbara Bel Geddes. We didn't have any storylines together. So I only worked with her occasionally, but she kind of gave off that same aura of being an old-time movie star. Later on, when I did all those Aaron Spelling shows, like Love Boat and Glitter and
Glitter.
Melrose Place.
Melrose Place. I worked with some of the old movie stars that my jaw just dropped. I'm like, oh, Ginger Rogers, really? I'm going to be, oh my gosh. It was like, this is amazing.
Did you ever?
It was just.
Did you ever encounter Jane Russell at all? Because I know my aunt was actually friends with Jane Russell back in
Jane Russell.
her days
I
out in the
only
theater.
saw one night. We did an event together, and we happened to be backstage together during an event. But she wasn't doing real well. She was. Little shaky.
I always love hearing stories of actors starstruck by other actors. It's so
Me
cool.
too.
It's like, oh, you're just like us. Okay.
I'm telling you, when I was 18, I was hired I was so broke. I had no money left from my childhood career. My family, had spent it all. So I was starting from nothing. And I saw an ad in Variety, and I was 17. I wasn't even 18 yet. And it was NBC open audition for dancers, and I was a dancer, right? So I had my mother drive me over to NBC, and it was a big cattle call. And it was for Gene Kelly's Wonderful World of Girls in Las Vegas.
Gene Kelly.
Yes. Gene Kelly's
We're like, I'm here.
I'm sitting in the rain. I've got to go. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to get this because I'm not 6 feet tall. I'm not a showgirl. I'm not whatever. But I went in and I did my dancing, and they said, well, you could dance with Gene. I'm like, okay. Okay. So I got hired. Even though I was 17, I got hired to do the show for 3 months in Vegas. But I had to turn 18. I was turning 18 before I could go. And it was like I turned 18 2 months before I went. And every night, I tell you, we did 2 shows a night at the International Hotel. And I stood backstage. I never missed 1 second of his performance during that show. When I was off stage, I was in the wings. And I was watching him, and every night when he did, Singing in the Rain song, and the rain came down, and he was doing the same number, and I never got enough of it.
I love that.
And to this
That's great.
I think I can't even believe that I was actually on stage dancing with Gene Kelly. You know, it's like, how does that happen?
That's a pinch me moment, isn't it? For sure.
Yeah. It is. I mean, and there's been so many of those in my career that I can't even tell you. And I'm so grateful for all the years I've had in this business and all the people I've been able to work with, the good and the bad, because there's been some that are kind of shady. But other than that,
you're not going to tell us who, are you?
Great memories.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it can be off the record. We can cut the recording, right, Mary?
No.
No, you guys, it would curl your hair.
but you,
I think we've all heard some things. We've seen some things.
Oh yeah.
But it also on Dallas, of course, Howard Keel and even Donna Reed was on there for a season too. But
that was the other thing. Howard Keel. I was in love with Howard Keel when he did Showboat, and then walking on the set, and there he is. And I told him, I said, I was so in love with you when I was 15. And he goes, well, what about now? And I said, well, I've got a husband. And he goes, well, Howard was so funny.
Because Susan Howard tells that story about when she came on, and she sashayed up to him and started singing, and he said, please stop.
I love Susan Howard. That would be me.
So I have a question for you. What was your reaction when you found out that Katherine wasn't dead? Because Bobby wasn't dead either.
So did you know before? Were you coming back? Or did you know, or it was?
Yeah. Were you just as surprised as everybody else?
No. I was, when I left the show after the accident, right? When you see them pull my head back and the wig falls off and all that, I'm 7 months pregnant. So I was ready to have a baby. And I knew that I was gone, and Patrick knew that he was gone, and it was all over, and okay, have a nice life. So I literally went off and did my own thing. I did a movie for Billy Graham. We did a film, and after that, I did more TV shows, a bunch of stuff for Aaron Spelling, and then I get a phone call. What is it, a year later, I guess? There was an entire season that
After Victoria's departure, you get that call to show up at the hospital when she's a mummy.
No, this is before.
Well, it was basically when Patrick came back, when he wanted to come back. Lenny called me, and I picked up the phone, and he goes, "Hey, Morgan, it's Lenny Katzman." And I thought, "Hi, Lenny. What's up?" And he said, "Hey, got a question for you." And I said, "Okay." And he says, "How how'd you feel about coming back to the show? And I went, Lenny, I'm dead.
Yeah, I'm dead.
And he said, oh, you're not. And I said, but wait, whoa. I killed Bobby in the car, and you guys went on, and he was dead. And he goes, yeah, well, he wants to come back. And I said, oh.
Sounds like a Monty Python sketch. I'm not quite dead yet.
I know. And I said, how are you going to do that? And he goes, well, we don't know exactly how we're going to do it yet, but we think it's going to be a dream that she just had this dream, and then it's all over, and then he's back, and we don't have to explain anything else.
There was so much.
I thought, wow, okay. And he said, yeah, well, we're going to need you for a few episodes in Texas, and you're going to show up at the hospital, and you're going to be back your same old character and thing again. And I thought, is anybody going to buy this? I mean, are the fans really going to be okay with this? And
I don't know, guys. Were the fans okay?
I don't know. I got a lot of flack from people that said, how could they do that?
My dad was pissed.
Yeah. And they did.
My dad was pissed.
They said they had
I don't know, you guys. It was a month before I was born.
Shut up.
And it's like, how can you do that? How can you just do that to your audience? And I guess they thought, well, they've been doing it in soap operas in the daytime soaps for years, where people die and then come back. And I guess it's more
believable than having him be in like witness protection or something. I mean, I can see
don't
the
know
dream
what it was, but we
more
lost
realistic.
actually
Witness protection.
They lost a lot of their. They lost a lot of their writers at that point. A lot of their writers, the original writers, left, and so it wasn't as tight of a production as it was when I was on originally. So things were different. And,
it was like the start of a new era.
They had the guts to do it first, and then Newhart got much more positive review for.
That was funny. Oh my God,
Suzanne Plachette right there, and
exactly.
Even St. Elsewhere with All in the Mind of the Kid, too. The whole series, But
I don't know. It was kind of weird for me,
Yeah, because you mentioned that, and then Catherine did not come right back right away because they waited till after Victoria was dressed or Pam was a mummy in the hospital when you showed up at the hospital. Was it only intended for those two scenes, or was there nothing, never anything going to?
No, they needed to have some kind of a Pam wanted to leave. So it ended up that somebody had to be suspiciously, did she take her? Is Catherine the one that did it? So they wanted to do that, which I understand. And nobody ever really resolved that. Nobody knows whether Catherine kidnapped her or what. But
I think that would have been a great storyline.
Where was you? Oh, go ahead.
No, that was the thing. Like, one thing that it was just mentioned in the reboot of the series. It's like, or do you guys remember Bobby saying, well, Catherine is dead? It's like, how? Why? Explain, please. Like,
and then
I know.
Cynthia later,
the training season messed everything up.
Kidnapped Pam. Yeah.
Cynthia Sidra admitted at one point she made the mistake of saying Catherine was dead. Was there ever any talk about the new series, maybe in a season 4?
You know what? I had heard some things where they were playing with some kind of a idea of Catherine and Cliff, just out meaning each other, I guess, or whatever it is.
It would have
rivalry would have been.
It
would have worked.
Would you have done it?
Series.
Would you have gone?
I don't know. I would have had to think it over because my life was just so different at that time. And I had been away from, I've been doing theater a lot. And so I don't know. I just, I was not that thrilled with the reboot. I mean, I thought.
We were not either.
Yeah.
You know what? I think they went off on the wrong tangents. They forgot who their audience.
Yes.
They did.
They did. Yes,
It's
thank you.
it's
They really had
frustrating.
familiar faces.
Yeah.
But the storylines were all over the place, and it was like,
Well,
it was, and it was just
JR's funeral was brilliant, though. That whole
okay,
episode.
I will give them that one.
That one
They,
was good.
they
That
got
was good,
some things they got right and some things they got wrong, and just
But that character was not Cliff.
No, that was like
not
Satan.
Cliff Barnes.
That was Satan Cliff. Like it was Satan Cliff.
That was,
Yeah.
I don't know why they did that, because his character was so distinctive and it was just perfect. I mean, it was perfect. And
he would never have blown up that rig with his pregnant daughter on there.
No, never.
No.
Like, and the first series ended basically with him and Miss Ellie like hugging in a park, right? Like they had kind of buried the hatchet. And now he's like 20 years later, let's go harm the Ewings. I mean, come on, guy. Like what?
Pardon my language, but he was
come on.
He was the batshit crazy one at that point.
Yeah, that's what they did. They turned him into that crazy, because he did a great job. I gotta say. I mean, Kenny was really good.
He did.
But he didn't have the eyes that you have.
I don't know.
He didn't have your eyes, or even Donna Mill's eyes. You two have very distinct eyes.
Oh yeah, Donna.
Instead of Betty Davis eyes, it's Catherine Wentworth eyes.
Yeah,
but
that's probably the only reason that I worked in this business is because of my eye. Seriously, even from when I was a little kid, I would get jobs because of my eyes. So funny.
Backing up one moment to the when Bobby was shot, at what point were you told that you were going to be the shooter, or did they try multiple ideas for her?
I completely forgot about that.
They shot everybody. Had Linda, I think Linda shot, and somebody else shot, and then none of us knew who did it. We didn't know which one
shoot Bobby.
I don't know.
Well, he was in JR's office at the time.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, that's right.
Using the phone.
That's true.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I forgot.
At what point did they tell you that it was you, and that you were going to probably exit?
Right before it came on, before it aired, because they didn't want it slipping out at all during hiatus, so they let me know right before. But it was, that's an interesting thing too, because I've been talking about that lately with a lot of people, how we used to do guns and shooting sequences and things, and how safe it was, and how careful they were with everything, like with this Alec Baldwin thing. That never, ever, ever would have happened, because I was even telling people, I said, when I did the shooting of Bobby, I really knew nothing about guns at the time. And I remember the gun guy and the prop department came over, had me stand, put the gun in my hand after they showed me everything. They opened it. They showed me it's empty. It's not loaded. There's nothing but, and then he puts a quarter load or something blank in there and tells me, do not touch anything. I will tell you when to lift the gun, what to do. I mean, it was so perfect. Not only that, there was plexiglass in front of the entire crew, so that when I walked in the office and lifted the gun, no matter what happened, even if there was any mistake, they're not going to get hurt, because there was plexiglass all across the front.
Wow.
And then when I was done, the gun guy said, drop the gun to your side. I will come over and I will take it from you. Not a problem. And every show that I did, from a Western to a detective show, whenever I had to handle a firearm, that's the way it was. How this happens,
you've got to wonder. I mean,
I don't know.
I don't.
You really got to wonder, because even the crew people know you have safety. If you're working with a gun on set or any kind of explosives, you have a safety meeting. Everybody listens.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I'm sure they did the same thing with Mary Crosby as well when
but
she
you
shot
check,
JR.
you check, and you recheck, and you check again, and it's just a.
I'm just shocked there was live ammunition in there, not
Well, that's what I'm
blanks.
saying. What if?
What the heck?
Yeah, I'm sure someone wouldn't do that as a practical joke. I'm just saying, like, that's what they have. Like tiers of people that check it. So like number one guy checks it, then a backup guy checks it, and then it's checked and checked. So like, how did it happen? Like, it's an awful thing, but
yeah, and even the actor, if the actor doesn't know how to check it, they check it for you, and you are looking at it, and they will show you exactly what's going on. That's why I was never afraid to do anything. I did a lot of Westerns. I mean, a lot of stuff where gunfire's going off and all that. And I don't think I ever worked on a set anywhere where it wasn't a top priority, safety, like the top thing. So,
especially with the number of times JR got shot too.
Exactly.
But,
even on a show like that, right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I know.
I love the scene where they're putting the cuffs on you, like when they arrested you finally. And you're like, take your hands off me. I mean,
I love
screaming. It was like, I know.
Like, there she comes.
As if they're going to stop manhandling you, right? Because they're trying to arrest you.
But she had to let him know.
Oh, you know.
I know. She's like, you need to take your hands off me. It was like a Blanche Devereaux moment, honestly.
Love it.
Well, it's
take your hands off me.
When you're getting ready to do the take and you're standing off and the cops were, I think they were hired local in Texas.
Oh,
and, I said, all right,
guys.
I said, you know what? I am going to fight you. And I said, you do whatever you have to do to stop me. And they're thinking, oh, yeah, she's an actress and this and that. And I mean, we did that, and I wrestled away and all this kind of stuff. And the guys went, wow, yeah, you really did. And I said, I told you.
That's awesome.
And a little bit of trivia, when they were doing the first-person perspective coming in right before Bobby was shot and he got off the elevator and all that stuff and the camera's moving, there is a reflection in the glass. People thought it was a ghost, but it was a crew member that you could see in the background.
A ghost.
A reflection in the glass. So people thought it was a ghost.
Josh is the king of trivia on the. He does all the trivia.
Like another one was when you ran Patrick over.
Yeah.
That earlier in that sequence, he's upstairs with Victoria. He puts on these brown cowboy boots, and then when he got run over, he was wearing black shoes. So he changed somewhere between coming downstairs and going outside and getting run over.
I mean, it's no different than Linda getting her haircut in the hospital, right?
Oh, that's right.
And I love how they always had makeup on you in the hospital, because I can tell you the 15,000 times I've been in the hospital, I look like I've been run over. So there ain't no makeup here.
Oh yeah. Oh, you never let anybody in there.
No, my mother was my first child that was born. My mother was in there, and they were inducing me, and she was trying to put makeup, I guess, on a pimple. And I looked at her boyfriend, and I was like, Mike, get her out of here right now. I was this big. I was so big. I mean, I'm 5'3", and I was like 1,000 pounds. And my nose was flat. It was awful. And I said, Mike, I'm warning you, get her out of this room right now. And he did. So
that's the scene out of a movie.
Oh, and it's on tape too.
I would
That's why she was trying to put makeup on you, Sarah, for the camera.
No, she's a Southern belle. Oh, and just so I can say this,
exactly.
Hold on, Mary, don't cut this. Mother, I know you're listening, because my mom's going to listen to this because she loves you. She said, tell you hello. She's crazy too. I did not say one cuss word. Thank you very much. Because she said, at least on this episode, I can't say my stuff, like the cuss words. I am typically known as the Southern belle with a sailor mouth. I can't help it.
Well,
I grew up with all boys. Yes. Only when I'm mad.
What would have happened if Catherine and Kristen had met up on the show?
I've thought about that before.
Chaos.
Ooh.
Chaos.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
Who was
that would have
who
been
was
really
who was
good.
crazier? Who was crazier?
Catherine.
Catherine.
Catherine was crazy.
Yeah.
There's no.
I think Kristen was more vindictive.
I mean,
Yeah.
yes, Kristen was more.
Poor baby.
She was a psychological, biatch. She was. Flat out. She was just flat out Looney Tunes. I'm sorry, but she was.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs?
Oh,
It was funny because when we first met
indeed.
Catherine, she was very, I thought Catherine was very sweet at first and very together. And it wasn't long before it was like, what is this? Like, there's something off.
There's something going on. I don't
There's
know.
something going on
when
here.
Something's happening.
It's the cuckoo eyes.
She
It
was,
was the
very
reason. It was the reason they left it kind of like that, and that's why they asked me to come back, because everybody was going, "Wait a minute, wait, where'd she go? What is she going to do?"
Yeah. And I think we were talking about this a few weeks ago too, weren't we, guys? Like that Catherine was starting to have the same crazy eyes that Pam had at one point, and it's like it's a family thing.
Oh, Pam has the crazy eyes when she's going off the rails after
Pam
the
has the crazy
miscarriage.
eyes.
She has the crazy eyes.
Yeah.
That's. I found it.
No.
That's my crazy eyes horn. I'm always like, Pam. No, ma'am.
Okay, perfect.
There you go.
Now you weren't there at the beginning of season. You were there at the end when Cliff had tried to commit suicide at the end of that season. But then they referenced you as being back in New York. Was that a storyline thing, or was that because you were unavailable because you were shooting something else?
You mean
at the beginning of the next season?
After
Let's
Cliff
see.
attempts suicide, Catherine they're like, "Oh, she's back in New York."
Had I just started the show? Had I just
the
been
beginning of
No, you.
This would have been
You've been in it for a
1982. Mid 1982. Yeah.
1982. Okay, yeah, they sent me. Is that when I was in New York and I found out Priscilla died? I mean, my mother died.
Yeah, just before.
And they called me on the phone. That was why they put me back there, because they got me away from Cliff and they got me away from the situation, and everybody thought she had just gone back. And then when that happened, that brought her back into it full force. Yeah, I remember that.
So that was a writer's decision as opposed to you off shooting something else and not available.
No, that was a writer's
I
decision.
have a question too. This might just be a coincidence, or I may actually have the wrong information. I'm not sure. So, in college, did you do journalism?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, isn't that what Catherine Wentworth did? I mean, did they do that on purpose?
And they
I just, you draw from real life sometimes.
Yeah, they had asked me if I'd ever gone to college, and I said, yeah, for about 5 minutes, and then I had to go out and make a living. But when I went to college, I said, yeah, I was a journalism major and an English minor, because I wanted to end up, I kind of had shut the door on the childhood career and didn't want to be an actor anymore. So I was going to go into broadcasting, be a weather girl or something. I don't know, whatever. But that's what I was doing. And they went, oh, that's cool. All right, well then because they were looking at that point, what are we going to do with her? How are we going to do this? Because they never followed up with that, did they? You never saw me doing the journalism thing again.
No, but I guess they had to give you like a backstory. But I just remembered it, and then when I read that about you, I was like, I wonder if they did that on purpose. They draw from real life sometimes.
Yeah,
because
did.
That's where you really connected with JR, was when you were doing that outside the restaurant, and doing that person on the street talking about the gas prices and all that stuff.
Like, that's so random. Why is she? She's a rich girl. Why is she?
But and you were very protective. Catherine was very protective of her relationship with her father, and Cliff is invading it, and then you called him. I loved when the first time you called him a
little man.
Pathetic little man.
I love that too.
That became your buzz phrase for him.
Oh yeah,
you pathetic little man.
I would do that to him all the time too, off camera. I love it.
What?
I love it.
Should we wind it up here?
And can I ask one thing? And then
We've
Josh,
had a great hour though.
this is really quick. I'm so sorry. I talk a lot.
Oh, that's fine.
Two things. I know that you are very political. You like, you're involved in politics. And so is there anything like big that you want to say about that? Or also in the same token, are there any like big charities that you are behind that you try to like,
I work, try to fundraise for Gary Sinise's foundation. Love Gary Sinise. It's just wonderful. A lot of the veterans organizations, I will go out and try to raise money for them. Anne Marie, we have a website and we wrote books together about political things, and we go out and we do town meetings and we do all kinds of things. We kind of have to lay low at the moment because we got thrown off of Facebook.
No, I get it. Everybody's different, and that's the thing is, I'm very in the middle. I'm very in the middle, but I was raised very conservative, so I have to be very careful because I have a lot of friends that are, everybody's different.
Yeah, me too.
I just like to hear both sides because I want to know.
Yeah.
I gotta say,
and you really find out who your real friends are.
I gotta say, I'm so happy to find out that you work with the Gary Sinise Foundation, because there's actually a guy I went to high school with that was injured in a training accident, I think at Camp Pendleton, and they built him and his family a house last year that they moved into.
Mm-hmm.
So
I wish I could do more, one-on-one with Gary and get more involved in it. But what I'll try to do, like Anne Marie and I try to do, when we go out and we sell our books and things, we'll tell everybody this: if you donate and get a book or do whatever, and then we'll give it to Gary's foundation, and then we'll promote it and we'll tell people about it. So we're just trying to do whatever we can, because they are truly they have done wonderful things. I mean, I can't even tell you some of the events and the fundraisers he has. Some of the vets come and they talk to us, and you just going, oh my gosh. I mean, if positions were reversed and I was in their position, I don't know how I would act, but they're upbeat. They're full of energy. Their lives are going full force. And I just think, what a great thing this is. I mean, it's just fabulous. And Gary is, I don't know, he's an angel. That's all I can tell you. He is just a true angel.
I should have you come back on another time just to talk about that, like after the barbecue episode.
It is just it's an amazing thing. I spent about 10 to 15 years raising money for the March of Dimes in the 80s, and I thought that was really something. Children and all that. And then I kind of moved over into animal organizations. And then when I met up with Gary in Hollywood, and a whole bunch of us all got together, and he was talking about starting this foundation. And so everybody kind of pitched in and said, well, what can we do? And we want to help you get started. And he just made it into something that was way beyond what anybody ever expected.
That's great.
I mean, have you guys ever heard Gary at all?
I haven't.
You should. If you
well, my son's in the army, my son's in the army, so I donate to all the veterans and my husband
and my dad's a retired Gulf War veteran.
Yeah, so is my ex-husband.
Yes, that's great.
So number one,
they had me young, Sarah. It's okay.
You are young,
but I would certainly be open to doing another separate podcast
to promote them.
We can get it together and just promote this, and because I did one last week, as I mentioned, with Cherie about the Yellow Rose Gala Foundation and multiple sclerosis. And I'm just trying to do more. We're trying to incorporate more of those off as an offshoot.
Right. Promote more than Dallas.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
you think about it, and there's so many organizations that are great organizations, and they're vying for money, and they're trying to get it, and it's just so hard to make a decision and to stand out and to really to get people to donate, and a lot of times, like, you have to go and you have to talk to corporate executives and say, we need $3 billion. Are you in? It's like,
It's right.
Yeah. It's hard to do that. I remember doing that with March of Dimes when they were trying to get some kind of
I remember those
done.
little walks, and you had the little
Walk America,
holder
where
that people put the money in.
And then I'd go to Washington, D.C. and walk the Capitol lawn with the senators and the congressmen and say, guys, you got to get on board here. You got to do I can't believe I did all that stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
We all did a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Oops.
One last Dallas-related thing. It's 45 years. What do you attribute the success to, and messages to the fans? And
oh, you know what? I know that's a long time ago. I think Dallas is one of those shows that so many people relate to it, and they have good people to root for, bad people to hate. It's like the good against the bad, and then the good is going to win out. And it was great storylines. It was interesting, cutting edge information that was going on in the world at the time, like the oil cartels and all that. So people could relate to all that. When I talk to foreign people who come over here from other countries, their attitude is, just to watch the Ewings and to see how they lived, and that's how America is, and that's how America lives. I said, well, the people aren't all like that, but and they go, no. But to live like that and to be like that, and they just, it's kind of an escape. You watch Dallas and you go to another world. That's why people still like it. They watch the reruns. The fans love it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's going to last a long time. And the characters, people have their favorites. And it's
South Fork is still standing.
I know. I made my kids go. They loved it.
Yeah, when you do something, that's the thing I was talking about the other day. You're in the process of making these shows and working every day and reading the scripts and going, oh, okay. You don't really think about, wow, this could be a big hit. No, you don't even think about that. You just kind of do your work. And then later on, you realize the impact you have. For instance,
so many people.
I'm at a charity event, and Princess Diana's butler is at this event, and he's speaking. He comes over to me and he says, I know you. Don't tell me I know you. Katherine Wentworth. And I said, yeah, I love that. Because I have to tell, in his English accent, I have to tell you a story. The Queen stopped everything when Dallas was on. She even made the dogs leave the room.
That's awesome.
Oh, she put the corgis out.
Awesome.
That's a big deal.
She put the corgis out. If they made noise, she got upset. Nobody could speak during Dallas. She watched every episode and loved it. And I just thought,
I get it.
This is
I have a show right now that I have to watch in total quiet.
Yeah.
They mentioned Dallas on The Crown in the last season, and I was like,
it comes up in all these different shows, just like little random, things. But like Friday night was like, we always say that we watched it inappropriately young. I mean, I started watching it when I was like 5. I mean, I was born the year that it started, 78. So we started watching it. Oh, wow. Yeah. So, I mean, I was like 3 or 4, but I can remember Mom, Dad, me. We would sit, I'd be like, I just, and then I've watched it again and again. And Even my car tag on my vehicle has Ewing 78 on it. And there was a man at the gas station that was like, "Oh my God, I love your tag." And I go, "Do you know what it means?" And he goes, "Actually, I do." And I was like, "Oh." So
that's awesome. So wait a minute. Let me ask you a question. Did you watch Dukes of Hazzard first? And then Dallas came on?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's what we did.
That's why I started watching.
And the Incredible Hulk and the Dukes of Hazzard and
Knight
Dallas.
Rider came on. And then when I got to go to California, when I interviewed for Punky Brewster, then I got to meet Knight Rider. I was real excited.
Yeah.
The Hoff?
That show.
In the car.
Yeah.
William Daniels, God bless him.
And remember, and then Dallas, and when Dallas went off, Falcon Crest came on.
Oh,
I'm watching that right now.
I used to watch, we would turn it, we were a house of music, so we watched Solid Gold. And I was like, I'm going to be a Solid Gold dancer when I grow up.
Oh my God.
I wanted to be
on Star Search, y'all. That's what I was going to do.
Yeah, and then my dad goes, "Sarah, you can't sing." I was like, "But I could dance and I could tap."
I know. I had no talent.
I did dance. Might not have been good, but I could dance.
No, in your opinion, do you think it's better that they left Katherine always out there, or should she have been brought to justice? And if out there, where do you think? What do you think she's doing now? Where is she?
She's on the land, man.
She's an old lady now.
She's a fugitive. Remember?
She's probably, I don't know. She's probably cooking something up. Never underestimate her. She'll be one of those people that lives to, forever. Yeah. Because that's what happens, It's and I could just see something brewing, something cooking. Hey, she may show up someday. You never know what they may do to Dallas. They may bring it back.
You never know.
You never know.
No one ever knows. The shadow knows.
That's right.
This has been great.
It has.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So much fun.
This is so fun.
Oh, well, listen, I've got like 1,000 million stories about Hollywood. I mean, my career and the people I've worked with and all that. Because I'm working on a book right now called Sound Bites from a Hollywood Life. But it's only essays. Everything. It's like working, what's it like with Hitchcock? What was it like on the set of Gypsy? How did how did I get Gypsy? All that kind of stuff. And so they're short little stories, but it's all about, the early career and then all the way up to Dallas and all that kind of stuff.
What's the name of it again? And when is it going to come out?
I'm buying it.
Sound Bites from Hollywood Life, but I haven't got it all put together yet. So it's in the process.
Ooh,
Definitely keep us posted.
Absolutely. And you guys are so much fun. I had a great time.
Thank you. We did too.
We enjoyed having you on so much.
Yes.
Oh, well, it's been absolutely wonderful. I always get what I want. I never know where I'm going to be. I could be back with you soon. You never know. But watch out. Katherine Wentworth is still alive and well.
Thanks for joining us on the Ewing Barbecue tonight for this very special episode. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Y'all come back now.
Let me go!